Little seems to have changed on British streets since the days of the Beatles, obviously. I read the news today, oh boy, 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire, sings the legendary band in A Day in the Life in 1967. A look at newspapers promises that there are 4,000 potholes in the northwestern English city of Blackburn alone. But something has changed, at least as some driving school instructor from Blackburn told the Guardian newspaper, because he said today it's probably more like 40,000. In fact, even 60 years after the Beatles, potholes are still dominant topics for drivers in England. And for some time now, National Pothole Day has been celebrated every year on January 15th to raise awareness of the problem. And some streets are as full of holes as Swiss cheese. The transport service provider RAC assumes that there are at least 1 million potholes. And there are an estimated 6 potholes per mile on public roads in England and Wales. A query to 185 local councils in England only gives a rough impression, as not even half of 81 responded. And there were a total of 556,658 potholes in 2022, so the number is actually likely to be many times higher now. The opposition Liberal Democrats recently spoke of a pothole pandemic. It's now almost impossible to drive in some parts of the country without having to avoid potholes. That was said by Helen Morgan, the party's infrastructure policy spokeswoman. In October 2023 alone, the AA Motorists Association had to be called out 52,000 times because of vehicles that were damaged due to road defects. In the year as a whole, there were more than 511,000 missions, well over 1,500 per day. Broken roads and broken necks, live in Pothole Britain, that was the headline of an article in the Guardian newspaper. The dangerous roads result in high costs. The insurer Admiral recently announced that the number of pothole-related claims increased by 40% in 2023 compared to the previous year, and the average cost per incident also shot up by 29%. The reasons are technologically higher quality vehicles and the increased prices for repairs, and Admiral is expecting more problems right now. The recent wet and stormy weather is leading to new potholes and existing ones becoming deeper and larger. And cyclists are also at risk. A year ago, a pensioner had a fatal fall. He hit a 23-centimeter deep pothole in the Lancashire area where the Beatles have been singing. And feeling let down by the government, some people are taking the problem into their own hands now. Music star Rod Stewart was filmed personally filling a pothole near his Harlow property in March 22. The road had been broken for years, he said at the time. And a stranger who calls himself Wanksy, after the mysterious street artist Banksy, also caused a stir and painted ejaculating penises around potholes. Completely successful, by the way. Where his work appeared, potholes were often quickly repaired. And the BBC program Look North recently addressed the problem with similar humor. Laughing host Peter Levy asked viewers to send in photos of their biggest holes. The ridicule and the accidents will soon be over. At least when the government does what it promised. They announced a £8.3 billion in November to combat the pothole plague, as Prime Minister Rishi Sunak calls the problem. And this means that around 8,300 kilometers of roads could be repaired in the next 11 years. £150 million are earmarked for this in the next financial year, and with the rest until 2034. And this should help drivers save up £440 in repair costs. But repairing potholes is one thing, according to the RAC, but it's also necessary to maintain the streets. And modern technology could help. The tech company Robotist 3D and the University of Liverpool have invented an anti-pothole robot. With the help of artificial intelligence, ARIS, the English abbreviation for Autonomous Road Repair System, is intended to detect and fill potholes. The machine will soon be tested under real conditions for the first time. Of course, there's also the appropriate Beatles title for this. It's Fixing a Hole. The roads in Great Britain are comparatively dilapidated because too little has been invested in their maintenance in recent years. And this has indeed several reasons. The British government has significantly cut spending on public infrastructure, including roads, in recent years. And this happened, among other things, out of the desire to reduce the growing national debt. In 2008, in the financial crisis, that also had a negative impact on road infrastructure in the UK, because at the time the government had to spend a lot of money on bailing out banks and companies, which led to further cuts in other spending. And climate change also impacts road infrastructure. Extreme weather events such as heavy rain and storms cause damage to roads and bridges, and the frequency of extreme weather events in the UK has increased in recent years. The consequences of lack of maintenance are clearly visible, though. In many parts of Britain, the roads are potholed, uneven and poorly lit, and this leads to accidents, traffic delays, and noise pollution. The British government has, as I said, set itself the goal of improving road infrastructure. However, it will still take a few years until this damage can be repaired under the conditions. According to a study by Transport for Tomorrow, roads in the UK are in very poor condition compared to other European countries. The study found that 60% of roads in the UK need repairs or replacements, and the study estimates that the cost of repairing the UK's road infrastructure will rise to around 100 billion by 2030, and this puts the 8.3 billion a little bit into perspective that the government announced. But if you want to know more about Brexit or UK politics, the next video is right here on the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.